just one by one, we've been working with our community, and that's my dream. We've all been putting a lot of energy into this, and I think that we're almost there. There's kind of this tipping point. We're starting to feel this energy. People are finding out about us, and everybody's joining in.
Hi, welcome to Peak Moment. I'm Janaea Donaldson. Cities are going to be a major place to deal with sustainability in the future, and I'm here with folks from a part of Seattle called Ballard, and they're with Sustainable Ballard. So I have guests David Wright, Vic Oberman, Andrea Fasti. Thank you for joining us. So how did Sustainable Ballard get started? Vic, tell us.
First of all, thanks, Jeanette and Robin. Sustainable Ballard formed out of the Ballard Peace Movement. And basically, we wanted to figure out a way to conserve energy. We knew the war had a lot to do with global energy descent. And pretty respectfully turned our back and just said, how can we help our community? How do we get a discussion going on conserving energy?
And so, how did you, what did you do? How did you get the troops? How did you get other people involved with you?
Well, part of it was that we formed the Ballard Peace Activists, and in response to this war that we did not vote on, there was a lot of folks that were frustrated, so we thought that we would start an open mic series and get it right from the people. What are they thinking about?
And is that where you heard people wanting to put attention not just to protesting the war, but also to doing something else?
Yeah, there were a lot of hopeful stories, and that's one of the main things that Sustainable Ballard, which came later, it has to do with empowering our neighbors and figuring out who our neighbors are in Ballard that want to join us in this.
So how did you get involved? I'll get David, and so we'll get all the players here.
I'm not sure exactly how I got roped into this whole thing. It's getting to be a bit of a mystery now. But one thing that was really clear to me about the protest movement was that we were being challenged by people who were saying, well, what's the alternative to war? Why are you against the war? And I found myself having trouble formulating a good answer, but that was a valid question. And so after February 15, 2003, with 30 million people in the world protesting the war, I thought it would be enough to turn anybody's head away from it. But we went in anyway, so I thought there was something else behind the issue. Mm-hmm. There was some deeper issues going on, so we started digging. And within short order, we came up with the concept of peak oil, that the world is running out of petroleum resources fairly soon, and that climate change is happening. And we call that climate chaos, not global warming. And climate change.
Climate chaos.
Climate chaos, because it's going to be moving back and forth in extremes.
Yes.
So
yes.
if you think of it as global warming, it's like, oh, it's getting nice and warm now, but
right.
We need to be thinking more catastrophically in a way.
Well, certainly that has come, we've already begun to see that since that time, when you were first reading it, Katrina at least,
yes.
is waking up a lot of people in America to that kind of unpredictable, extreme weather changes.
Right. So there was the whole political side of it too, which is the project for the New American Century, which not very many people still don't know about. And as far as I know, very many people who are meaningful, honorable citizens, Republicans, conservatives, Democrats, I don't care who they are, they still don't know who these people are, what the organizations were.
So give us a sentence about what the project for the New American Century, and I don't want to go too far because we want to get back to Sustainable Ballard in the next century, in this century.
Well, this is an important part. The PNAC for short, their website is www.newamericancentury.org. You can go and see the documents online and see for yourself what the neoconservatives have to say about the Pax Romana or the Pax Americana that they wanted to impose on the rest of the world, like the Romans. The idea is to install democracy around the world, but really it's about installing hegemony, American financial hegemony on the rest of the world.
So that
So with
we dominate the world
Yeah.
by our American finances
Yeah.
and our economics. Yes.
But happening along with that is peak oil, so they know about this, and so they're looking at securing the world's oil resources while it's beginning to run out. But climate change is happening at the same time, so they're aware of this, but they're not telling us. So we put that together and said, well, what do we do? We decided at some point, hey, we should probably have a nonprofit called Sustainable Ballard, and that was the beginning of it.
Okay.
What, 3 years ago now? Yeah.
Andrea, how did you get involved?
Well, I think the first public meeting that Sustainable Ballard called was in January of 2005, is it?
2004.
2004, down at Adams Elementary, and it was in the preschool room, and we were all packed like sardines
About
in
40
there.
of us.
And when I read about it, I think I read about it in the Ballard News Tribune or something. I turned to my husband and I said, Bob, I think this is it. I think this is the group that we need to endorse and get involved with at the local level, because this is where the changes that we need in the world are going to happen.
Yes.
And,
Yeah,
I've never heard
absolutely.
this. This is great.
Aha.
and so I dragged him, who hates meetings and has hardly been to any since, but he's very interested in biodiesel, so he was willing to go and hear more about the peak oil and all of those issues. I just think that I got more and more into it because for me, I had a long history in Seattle and local government, city government, doing energy conservation. That this was just another step, kind of a bigger step than putting in the double pane windows and insulating your attic, but that all of these little individual steps are what we need to start making the shift away from the reliance on fossil fuels. And that's what we need to deal with the climate change and the rest of it.
The bigger shift, I think, really is about reuniting communities.
Reuniting communities.
Yeah, I remember so clearly that during the presidential campaigns, the Bush administration were claiming to be uniters, not dividers.
Right.
We are more divided now than we've ever been in our entire history. And the one issue that really does unite all of us is how we use energy. So we realized that the structure that we wanted to come up with would be some kind of blueprint that we could use anywhere in the United States.
So your blueprint
So-
for Sustainable Ballard
Yeah,
that you could
yeah.
use in anybody, so anybody, any
It's a
town in
place to
Iowa
start.
could use it.
That's right. It's a place to
Okay.
start.
Yeah.
And what,
So how do you take these ideas that we're talking about and bring them on the ground running with the community here?
yes.
So basically, we're not trying to become the end all in this discussion, the leaders. We're trying to facilitate a discussion with the people that live here.
Yeah.
So taking what their concerns are and helping them facilitate projects.
So you're not trying to be the big project
No,
holder of
we're
everything.
integrating into our community.
Ah. So you're working with existing groups or existing
Right now,
projects
we
and so
have
on?
over 25 different. We're collaborating with over 25 different organizations.
And
on
so what
projects.
what's your role? What role do you see Sustainable Ballard doing with all of the other groups?
It's a
Well-
combination of infiltration and education.
But essentially, it's kindling to start the fire. I mean, to
Yeah.
start this great.
This is all part of our own little great turning right here in Ballard. The thing I keep coming back to every time we have a general meeting is that people think we need to have some kind of project or something we can build and put in the ground. And that's not really the way I see it. I see the discussions that we have, talking to each other, talking to people who don't know about us very well, talking to people who are scared about raising the issues. Getting those conversations going is going to be the real infrastructure of how we go through these changes of peak oil and climate change.
I think a really good example is this 100-mile diet that's coming out of our Food, Health, and Medicine Guild, these 7 guilds. And this particular one is...
We'll get back to the guilds.
Yeah,
We haven't
this is-
talked about it yet, but we've got to get back to the
okay,
guilds.
but this is partnering with the local grocery store, the Ballard Market, and just identifying the food that's within 100 miles, that comes from within 100 miles of here.
Okay.
So that people can start thinking about the food choices that they make. And maybe it's not such a great idea to be buying strawberries in February. Where have they come from? They've come from South
So are
Or-
people,
or
are there,
fairies
now is
in
the
January.
market starting to label or put it
They
things in
will.
a
They're
section?
Working on.
Yeah,
Aha.
that's the
So
plan.
that you can say this is within 100 miles of Ballard.
Uh-huh.
So
And this is
each
part
one
of-
of us brings to this a little bit different point of view, and I actually have a different point of view than David on this.
Great.
It
Let's
is
start
about the
with-
conversations, but often it's the project of coming together over a particular issue or a particular project that people have the conversations.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes,
That's
that will get
organizing
people
people.
together
That's right.
to begin to even share their points of view.
That's right.
So that's a central word that we need to use more and more and more. The words of collaboration and cooperation. I was thinking the other day that that we would be destroying this world by competition
That's
and hoarding of resources, and not just physical resources, resources of information.
Yes.
And
yes.
so we're going to see, being an anthropologist, by my BA training, I'm really interested in, I'm excited, to tell you the truth, about peak oil because it's going to be such a wake-up call. I think we're going to see such a transformation of how people see the world, and how we see each other. That's the silver lining. The other silver lining is that the way the world, the way the American society and economy has been run is going to be profoundly transformed.
Yes.
There may be a crash, but out of that comes something new that I hope empowers us. We empower each other, in becoming a new collaborative society that we've not seen before.
So on an individual level, yesterday I sold my biodiesel at Mercedes. The person that was buying it, very excited, it's biodiesel Mercedes. But it was more than that. She got to now join this community. She gets to go to Dr. Dan's and fill up, and now she's a part of this greater community. She is already, but now she's
More so.
more
even
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's on an individual level of addressing each person. It's one foot in front of the other.
Remember when we went and talked to the Rotary Club?
Yes.
Oh, that was so much fun.
What happened at the Rotary Club?
Well, it was interesting. There was all these people who were involved in the financial sector, development sector of our society, the old guard, so to speak. My first question was, has anybody here heard about peak oil? Two, three hands goes up in the crowd, and then it's okay. It was just a story about it. We started talking about it. You could see the look on every one of those faces change. Like, oh my goodness, this is big.
Yes. Yes.
They began
Yes.
to see that everything that we do in society is somehow tied together by energy.
Absolutely.
And so in sustainable Ballard, how do we convey these messages in a way that the common person can get a grip on what it's all about? And so we broke up the whole problem of different areas that are affected by peak oil into guilds, modern and medieval crafts guilds, so that they become basically schools of learning where people can teach each other new skills of how to grow herbs and turn them into medicine, or use them to cook with, or how to work with BALI, the Business Alliance for Local Living Economies, on a new economic structure. So we have 7 guilds now?
So, I wanted to toss the ball to one of the others of you.
Yeah.
Tell me about
Yeah.
the guilds, what they are doing, what they are thinking, how they're approaching this.
You want to talk about that?
Well, first of all, can I remember?
No, they'll help you.
Oh,
Start with the
changing.
ones- Start with the ones you remember.
Well, it's the Food, Health, and Medicine Guild we already mentioned, and they've been doing an incredible job of getting people aware of the food that is nearby, that it tastes good, and that it can provide a lot of our needs.
And you can grow it here.
And you can grow it here, and you can grow it in your backyard. In fact, the gal who has been the star of that guild has a little company called Small Wonder Farm, and she starts seedlings for people that she sells in the local market. I work with the Home Energy and Conservation Guild. We are giving people all the choices regarding what they can do in their homes, everything from solar panels on their roof for their water heaters to the simple stuff like using your curtains when it's hot, to close your curtains in the morning and open them, and the basic energy use. Also working with a great startup project, Tracy Carroll, who was one of the founders of FlexCar, has got this new thing going called Net Green, which is a program where you analyze your own carbon output, translate it into a dollar amount that goes to Climate Trust, a group in Oregon of people that are looking for projects that with just a little bit more money could actually be sucking air out of sucking the pollutants and the
carbon
CO2
out.
out of the atmosphere. So you can make that analysis and make that dollar contribution to that change and become he's calling it net green.
So what you do is you figure this much is how much carbon I'm putting into the atmosphere.
Right.
I'll take that dollar amount, contribute it to people who are working at getting greener
things,
energy.
Yeah, that are
Great.
doable today. The best example is the truck stop where all of the diesel engines are idling overnight to keep a cab warm or run a TV and a microwave. That they could just plug in if the truck stop had the plug-in hookup, then that would be electric
Just
and
power it up.
zero emissions. So,
Very nice
yeah,
suggestion.
Something,
Oh, do you want to do some more guilds?
well, I
There's
wanted
the
to,
Transportation Guild. You want to throw in some
well, to-
on that?
just to break it up a little bit of,
Uh-huh.
kind of in a nutshell, what Sustainable Ballard is doing is developing a toolkit to offer to people tools to, it's as if we're modeling all these different things. I mean, we are modeling. We've all taken steps in our own lives, and we've become kind of an activist training ground of sorts.
Ah,
And we're very open to, I mean, anybody that wants to join us, but also the community at large. There are a lot of different businesses and organizations, and we've talked a bunch of different places like the Ballard Rotary and Ballard Chamber. We're open. Everyone is on the spectrum. It's going to take all of us to
Yes.
do this.
And we
Yes.
will need everybody.
Everybody
That's
is-
the whole point.
But it's
board.
one by one. It really is, and it's empowering people.
So you're just
educating.
doing what sounds like is a lot of outreach,
Yeah.
a lot of networking, a lot of connecting,
Right.
and sharing
Yeah.
what the story, what if peak oil, of
We're
of
gently
climate
nudging our
crisis.
community. We're concerned, but we're not trying to, we're just moving along and just taking our time, really.
Yeah.
It's a kind of a nice view. You're not panicking. So I want to go back for a second.
Yeah.
You've got a couple guilds.
Yeah.
We've heard about a
Yes.
couple of them.
Yeah, there are 5 more.
There's anything else to be said about any of them, or any other projects you've taken on?
I think what ties them together, which I kind of love, is our mascot, which is the sea star. Each arm is one of the
A
gills.
starfish kind of sea star?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the idea that underneath these are all these feet that move this community along.
Ah.
And it's been interesting to look on Willett's website, and they have something similar. We've got 7 guilds, they have 16 groups, and they've got a wagon wheel, but really interesting ideas, similar ideas pulling these two
Right.
groups together.
I think it's very fitting you have a sea star because Ballard is here next to Puget Sound.
Yeah.
You are a seaside, if you will, or an oceanside, a soundside community of how many people? How many people in the Ballard part of
About
Seattle?
70,000 people,
So I mean, this is not small.
and a
No.
growing community at that, too.
I don't know of any community actually that isn't growing
Yeah,
at
but
this point. You
It's
know,
true.
just
Yeah.
stretching
The demographic,
our
yeah.
supplies
Yeah.
and so on. I noticed on your website that you did a project called Vehicle to Grid.
that's right.
What is this? I didn't, tell us what that is.
So here, this is a great example of, we are a new nonprofit and coming up with these ideas and learning ways to collaborate with the utilities, politicians, other nonprofits. This particular project, we worked with Patrick Mazza of Community Solutions,
Climate
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 Solutions,
Yeah.
and innovator Willett Kempton of Vehicle to Grid.
Vehicle to Grid.
Vehicle to grid
What is
technology.
this?
It's essentially being able to store energy in a separate battery in an automobile. Automobiles are used maybe 10% of the time.
Right.
So here's a way of renewables, be able to go through the electrical grid. You plug the car in, and it feeds into the car when you're at work or off hours type of thing, and then be able to have that energy to be able to plug it in when it needs, so we wouldn't have a blackout type of thing.
What it does, it stabilizes the peaks
That's right.
of energy used during the day.
So let me just see if I understand this. So on an off hour or at night, you plug your vehicle, your electric vehicle, or your hybrid in, and get the batteries up,
Right.
right? And then
Actually,
later, go ahead.
the car when it's moving is generating
Sure.
and storing power. And so the idea is that when it's sitting idle, then the excess power that's in the battery can get put back into the grid.
Yeah, you're
One of the
feeding it in.
funniest things at the conference was the fellow who had come up from San Francisco, and he says, "You mean all those people who have parked their cars at the BART stations, we just plug them in and then we run BART on the electricity?"
That's a great idea.
He was really jazzed.
Yeah, it's like, why are we not using them all as batteries to feed back in?
Yeah, yeah.
Or the same idea of people have the solar panels that are going to be the roof over
Right,
all the
it's the same
parking,
idea.
not only to give shade, but to take all that sun and feed it back into the grid. I think
Yeah.
that we're going to see, I mean,
A lot of
lots,
ideas.
creative ideas.
Sustainable Ballard has worked itself into an interesting position in that government, agencies can work with us, other nonprofits, businesses. We're like this cog that then transfers the information or gets other people involved in our community. So we're right between the two. It's just-
Yeah, we really felt that now by putting ourselves in that kind of a position. We're not so much going out in the streets and protesting against the war and other injustices and stuff like that. I think that the energy, while it's important to do that kind of thing, it's much more important to actually take that energy and actually do something. Change the system, change the economic structure, change the social structure of how people talk to each other, and start changing the stories by which we
There
live.
you go.
Yes.
We've been living
Changing
according to the American
stories.
dream for so long, and now everybody, I think, across the spectrum are saying that the American dream isn't working. So we need a new vision. That's what we're trying to start.
So, tell me about that.
Something that's been interesting is that Sustainable Ballard is comprised of probably 70% women.
Yeah.
Mhm.
There are a
Mhm.
lot of them.
Right.
Does that surprise you? What do you see that women are bringing to the story, the new story?
It doesn't surprise me at all, to tell you the truth. Rhea and Eisler and The Chalice and the Blade, and then David Corton in his book The Great Turning have pointed to the more nurturing aspects of society, both in women and in men who understand the principle of taking care of what's important at the base of the ecosystems and our social structure, and making sure that is the foundation for what we do. I think as our economic and political system has been structured, it's done in such a way that it fosters competition and dominator systems of social order, right from the corporations to the government down to the families. We need to change that. And so, Sustainable Ballard is very much, this nurturing base kind of vision.
The partnership vision.
Yeah, the
That's what I
partnership
hear.
vision,
You're
correct.
partnering
Yeah.
with government, with individuals, with other groups.
Yeah.
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 We've also organized ourselves this way in that with the 7 guilds, we've always said we wanted 2 leaders, 2 facilitators per guild, and that one of them, we'd really like at least one of them to be a woman. So we've really gone out there and encouraged women, empowering them. Again, this whole toolkit idea.
And it's interesting how simple it is. I had an experience the other day. We were tabling a display at this Shoreline Renewable Energy Fair, and one of the volunteers at our group is a sweet thing, and she's a little shy, so I told her, I want you to go over to the Outback people. These are the people that use solar power in the field to run equipment. I said, I want you to go over there and ask them to come to our fair, our festival in the fall, to provide the power for our microphones and our stuff. And she was kind of hesitant, but I said, just go do it. And then the next thing I know, a couple of days later, I see this email, and she says, "Thank you for making me do that."
Right.
And it's it's just little things like that that get people to start realizing that they have the power within them to do stuff.
So I hear pieces of the new story, empowering women, empowering and connecting. You're doing a lot of connecting within your community.
With everyone in the community.
And in that sense, social justice, including everybody that you can.
Yeah.
And a toolkit. Now you've mentioned the toolkit, and we've only got about 3 minutes left, so this may not be what you wanted to talk about, but it's like you keep coming back to that. I want to know what you mean by a toolkit.
It's a toolkit that really allows us to take possession of the faculties that we've been given to empower ourselves, to realize our fullest potential as human beings in supporting each other and building a new vision of who we can be, I think we have another stage of evolution we're about to come into, and this is just the start. One thing that's really important to remember is that, unless we start doing something about how energy is used, we're not going to have much food to actually eat. So, to talk about an urban situation, Cuba, in The Power of Community, did a very good documentary to watch about where we'd like to see us be headed in the future.
But Sustainable Ballard, part of that toolkit is learning how to do something like this, how to stand there with a mic and do education with other people, how to write a brochure, all those kinds of things, how to go and talk to politicians. We're developing that within Sustainable Ballard.
The other thing we're trying to do is we're trying to have fun. I
That's
shouldn't
the
say
bigger
trying,
piece.
we're having
That's
fun.
the
So, how are you having fun? Tell us
Yeah.
what you do to have fun.
Well,
We had a hell of a party at the
Party.
last
we
fair.
had
like
an
meetings.
anniversary meeting and we had a good time. But for instance, we have this fall festival coming up October 1st this year in downtown Ballard, and we are deliberately trying to get it away from talking heads and lectures and have people doing things hands-on. I have a personal project called the Sustainable Snake, which is going to be some kind of a people-powered vision of, things that you can do to be sustainable, that we are going to kind of run around downtown Ballard to get people interested in coming up to the fair. And
So
who knows-
something
who
else
knows what
is
it'll be, but
the leaders that are already here in Ballard. Reverend Rich Lang and Jody Hugg, there's a wealth of...
That's right, we
In
have all these
your
treasures.
government?
No,
these are
community
community
activists,
activists,
Reverend,
okay,
Samstar, there's a lot of different people that have helped us along, and also, at least part of my inspiration too has been Miles Horton and his book, We Make the Road by Walking. That was a lot about teaching or working within the communities and allowing the communities to organize themselves, and that's where Martin Luther King Jr. came from and Rosa Parks.
Yes.
So.
So you are, I am just thrilled for you. I mean, there's a lot of energy, I can tell, amongst you. The things are going. So I wish you really well for your festival. I hope you have more and more of your community getting to know about you and each person finding their part, even if you don't even hear about it, that people are doing and making changes in their lives and building community, even if your influence is many ripples away.
That's happening. We're creating big ripples around the sound.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being here. You're watching Peak Moment, Community Responses for a Changing Energy Future. I'm Janaea Donaldson. Thanks for watching.